Hi everyone, Diana Henry here at ConExpo 2020, joined by Steve Cox from Command Alkon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Let's talk about Command Alkon. What do you do there?
So my role is Vice President for Business Development. My current focus is on building a partner program for our new heavy building materials supply chain solution, Connects.
Connects, wonderful, okay. Command Alkon, what do you guys do there?
So Command Alkon is a 44-year-old technology company that's been providing solutions to the ready-mix, aggregate, asphalt industry over years. And what we're doing today currently is we're allowing people to digitize that information, get it to the cloud, and share it with their trading partners seamlessly.
That's what you have to do these days, right, to stay on top of things. So let's talk about paper delivery tickets and what does it get used for in the heavy building materials supply chain?
The paper ticket is used for transactional purposes, and so it's shared between trading partners. You have things on that paper ticket like the seller, the buyer, the source where it's being shipped from, the destination where it's being shipped to, as well as the description of the product being shipped in quantity, things like that. And so it's carried to the job site. Typically the seller might even have 4 to 6 copies. And he gets to the job site and he hands it out to all these different people who do different things with the ticket. So for example, the seller, he wants to get a signature on that, and then the delivery specialist carries it back and gets it to the back office where the invoicing group can then use it to say, okay, it's proof of delivery, we can invoice for it. Now the buyer takes that same sheet of paper and he puts his codes on it and he sends it to the accounts payables group where they can say when the invoice comes in, this is goods receipted, it's okay to pay. If you happen to have a material inspector on the site, he's likely to append to it plastic properties, ambient conditions. He sends it to his home office where they add other things later to do a materials report. And then lastly, if we were looking at a DOT project, you're going to have an inspector there who's going to take this document, staple it to his daily work report, which would then indicate that it's okay for him to pay the contractor. So you can see you have all these manual handoffs for paper, and it's really not necessary with today's technology.
So let's talk about the value of having this digital paper ticket.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, you can kind of see the show and how many people are here. Just in North America alone, there's like 330, 340 million of these annually. About 1 million a day, right? And by our estimates, all the cost associated that I just described to you in that painful process.
It's long.
Yeah, is like $1 billion a year for the industry. And that's just thinking about North America. And if you start to think about the global cost, it's ridiculously large. And so, you know, given the capabilities of today, there's no reason for the industry to bear that burden.
Especially in today's day and age. But yet, no one is doing it the way you're doing it. Why hasn't this been done yet?
Great question. So a lot of people have probably seen some of the McKinsey reports that are out there talking about the lack of productivity for the construction industry. And basically they compare construction versus many other industries that are out there in the world. And they found that the productivity for our industry has been relatively flat for the past 40 to 50 years. Their theory on the reason behind it is because we're one of the least digitized industries. And you know, in defense of our industries, there's a reason for that, right? So if I'm an automobile manufacturer, I'm receiving these goods in a nice, cozy, warm plant, shielded from the elements. And so the truck pulls up, they offload the parts, and I've got a network computer right there. I inspected it, this is what I expect, I enter it, and boom, it's in the system. Think about construction. We're typically some of the first people on that job site before there's a roof. There's not a network computer there. So up until mobility or mobile connectivity became so ubiquitous and everybody carried a smartphone, we didn't have this capability. So it's kind of new to the world. There's no reason we can't do it today, and as a matter of fact, we should.
How are you encouraging adoption?
So it starts off with awareness. So as I mentioned, our company and others have been around for a long time, and most of the technology is kind of this on-premise technology. And most people don't realize that they don't have to go invest in new hardware, they don't have to go invest in new software. There's a capability to lift that data to the cloud and allow it to be shared. So number one, we have to get out and communicate that capability is there. Once people understand, or once they are aware that it's possible, the next step becomes helping them understand what we're doing. And so you can imagine, business leaders dealing with something new. What are you guys doing? This is my data, and are you guys selling my data, and is it secure? And so once we walk them through the process and say, look, it's the same thing you're printing on a piece of paper and giving almost to anybody. There's nothing.
Yeah, how secure is that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you show the security protocols we're taking to make sure that we do it well. And then lastly, we just have to reinforce we are not selling their data. As a matter of fact, they control who receives that data via share rules. What we're really doing is we're investing in infrastructure which allows them to share it with the trading partners that they choose. Not only who they choose to share it with, but what data they choose to share it with. So when we get through those two elements, then it really just becomes about adoption. And it's changed, it's just like anything else. So I was not the first person, I hate to admit it, to adopt online banking via my cell phone. And let me tell you, my money is very important to me, and it is, sensitive information. But I look back to it today, and if I had to go back to the old way of doing it with a checkbook, I'd be lost.
Right.
And so, we've got to create awareness. We've got to help people understand what we're doing. And then lastly, we have to walk people through the change management. And I think with the new generation coming in who's used to dealing with everything electronically, it's only a matter of time.
Other than the security issues, are there other common questions that you receive about this technology?
One of the more common questions we get, especially from some of our customers who have invested in these type of solutions, is, well, why can't we just do it ourselves? And the reality is they can, but there's a certain set of use cases where that works. So if I'm a seller and you're a buyer, and I have an app, and you only buy from me, and you only buy the materials I'm selling, then my app probably works perfectly. But odds are, because our industry does things based off proximity and location, you're probably buying from several sellers, and you're probably buying multiple materials as well. So when you go back to that change management question, what you really find is that the buyer side doesn't want to have to deal with 6, 7, 8 different apps on a job site. They want to have one interface that they can teach their people to use so they can do it. So we think that Connex can be symbiotic with those that have their own apps. And we think it really kind of solves that many-to-many problem that I was just describing. And as I kind of like to say, I won't speak for the rest of the company, but you connect once, you connect to all, right?
I think you need to talk to marketing. They might go with that.
I think marketing stays as far away from me as they can.
Fabulous, fantastic, interesting technology. Thanks so much for sharing it with us, Steve.
Yeah, glad to do it. Thank you for having me.
Have a great show.
Thank you.
When your dealer services your cat, they know there's a lot more riding on it than just you. Let's do the work.